المستعان ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بك. Today, inshallah, we'll begin by reading the translation of a surah from the Quran, which is held to be another one of the earliest words sent down to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Brother Sa'd, can you read the translation of this surah that we call Surah Al-Infitar?
In the name of God, the good and merciful. When heaven is burst open, when the stars come undone, when the seas spill over, and when the graves are scattered, a soul will learn what it has prepared and what it has left behind. O man, how bold you are before your gracious Lord, the one who created you, fashioned you, and stood you straight, fitted you into whatever form he chose. No, you think you are above judgment, even while watch is kept over you, by record keepers of honor, who know what you do. The good are to be in bliss, and the wicked are to be in the flames, which they will enter on the day of judgment, and from which they will not be exempted. And if only you knew the day of judgment. Oh, if only you knew the day of judgment. A day when no soul will be able to do anything at all for another. Everything that day will be up to God.
Now, what we're going to the event we're going to read today, inshallah, is a major public event, and it was described by a number of people. Among them are Abdullah ibn Abbas, Ibn Murid, and Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, and also Aisha radiyallahu anha, and others. And the two narrations we're going to, the two descriptions we're going to read, inshallah, are both in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. And I apologize for if some of the copies aren't clear. There's a toner shortage in the office. Inshallah, we'll make other copies available. Ikram, can you read the next?
Narrated Ibn Abbas. When the message and warned your immediate community was sent down, the Prophet ﷺ mounted a sofa and started crying out, O Bani Adi, and so on to all of the members of Quraysh until they came assembled. Anyone who could not come himself sent a representative to see what was going on. Once Quraysh, including Abu Lahab, assembled, the Prophet ﷺ then said, if I told you that there was a cavalry in this valley here coming to raid you, would you believe me? They said, you've never lied to us before. He then said, I am an alarm to you ahead of a serious punishment. Abu Lahab said, may the rest of your day be wasted. Is this what you call us gathered together for?
Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma here describes is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did after this instruction was given to him. This ayah that Abdullah ibn Abbas is referring to, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, this ayah is in Surah what surah is it in? It's in the top here. It's Surah Al-Shu'ara. We have talked before about the names of a number of men and women, elders and youth who had embraced faith, and we've seen how there are all different types of people in all directions. And that's a result of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam conveying the message he was told to preach, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The instruction in this order is something, and what the Prophet ﷺ did in order to do what he was told, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is something different. And again, this expression that you may hear in books about public or private and secret and not secret. First of all, it's just expressions used by historians, and if it means anything, it means that either people were forced in fear to not pray in public, or that it was personal as opposed to what we'll see here. Because this is something very meaningful and very specific that the Prophet ﷺ did. It's not like what happened before. And Ibn Ishaq, rahimahullah, said, according to his information, he heard that this was 3 years after the first revelation came to the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. The Prophet ﷺ was told to وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, and it's translated here, warn your immediate community. What does that mean? The people that you are actually a part of. But I said, every single one of us, unless we're in a hermitage, or I guess even if unless you're living in a cave, and you have an immediate community. And the Prophet ﷺ, as we'll see here and as we'll see through the rest of his mission, he was told in a very direct, in the most direct, literal way possible, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this was told, and he went up on the mountain of Safa, and he made a cry. And he mentions here, he describes it as, he said, Ya Bani Fihr, Ya Bani Adi. Abu Hurairah also says other things, and other narrations they say, he said, Wa Salaha. And this, what he's doing here, this is not like a random thing. This is a particular thing, has a particular meaning. Does anyone know what the significance of this is done in other situations?
Somebody attacks you.
Yeah.
Speaking here.
Well,
It's an announcement.
not necessarily.
It's something like very important, and they hear someone attacking or something. Then they used to make.
This is like it's a thing that's done for particular reasons. It's like other people and other places, they will have something they call a town crier, and there are specific words that he will use. Sometimes specific clothes that that person will wear, and we have heard expressions like "hear ye." Nowadays, people don't use that, but that was used, and it was serious when it was used. Even in the history of this country, there's a very famous story about someone who went making a call. Yeah. And what was the thing that he said? The British are coming. Yeah, nowadays it's
Considered
in the
Civil War or the
no,
Independence War?
the Revolutionary War. There's a story behind it. I'm not gonna go into it. You can ask her.
Okay.
The Paul Revere was famous for making it cry, the British are coming. Nowadays, that's repeated in like plays and stories. When he was saying it wasn't a joke, it wasn't for fun. It was a really serious thing. Appearances of things have changed or are different where different people live in different times. There are still things like this that are necessary wherever you are. There are certain cars that make certain sounds and have certain colors, and that it's for specific things. And everybody knows you do a specific thing when you hear that sound and you see a car with those colors flashing in that particular way. And there's red color and the blue color, and that's for a very specific dire thing. Right there's a red thing.
Fire.
What's that? Fire alarm. And these, this is part of the code, and it's a very serious thing if someone pulls the fire alarm. Even in a room like this, or a building like this, no one's going to take that lightly if someone pulls the fire alarm at random. And we're even more close to what this is. We're blessed, alhamdulillah, most of us, that we haven't been in a situation where we get up and we think about being under attack. But this happens. Other people aren't always this assured. And for example, in Britain, in the Second World War, there was a very famous thing that would be done. Does anyone know? It's a different country. They were bombed by the Germans, and there would be a public bomb alarm. You know that a bomb was coming down, and you have to take special precautions. Likewise, what he's doing, it's a specific thing. And we'll read similar things later on in the Seerah. We'll read when Quraysh, the ones who are still in Mecca, learn that their big caravan is being threatened. Abu Sufyan sends a man from Ghifar to do something like this. And he does some very specific, very loud things. He goes into the middle of Mecca and he stabs the nose of his camel and he rips his shirt and he makes a particular cry, al-latima, al-latima, to give the alarm. And then another incident, when the Prophet ﷺ was in Medina, and I remember some of us who read this in Hadith a long time ago, that there was a raid on some of the herds of Medina, outside of, from some people outside of Medina, and a Muslim man, radiallahu anhu, learned of that. So he said he went to the top of a mountain in Medina called Sala', and he said, wa sabaha. And they're saying it not like the way I'm saying it. There's a added to the end, and there's a particular way of saying it, and saying it very long and loud. And he said, I said that, and I made sure everyone between the two mountains in Medina heard what I was saying. So, what Ibn Abbas and also he's describing how the Prophet ﷺ went through different names. And Banu Fihr, who are Banu Fihr?
Fihr ibn Kilab.
Fihr ibn Ghalib. لا Fihr ibn Lu'ay ibn Ghalib. Who in general, who are Banu Fihr?
قريش.
Wait a minute. Lu'ay ibn Ghalib ibn Fihr. Aywa. Fihr are everyone. And then he'll go left and right and then narrow, more narrow and more narrow. We'll see it again in the next hadith. This is also a specific thing. And this is like a war cry, a rally cry. And you make the cry to whoever is concerned by what's going on. And as you get more desperate, you get down to those who are closer and closer to you. And a similar thing we'll see for example, in the Battle of Hunayn, there was a huge army marching towards Ta'if. They went through a mountain pass and they were ambushed, and a melee ensued, and a lot of the army panicked and fled. Most of the army panicked and fled. And the Prophet ﷺ had his uncle, who had a bigger voice, make a cry that was narrow and specific. Does anyone know what he cried? Well, according to some narrations, he said, Ya lal Ansar. There are specific people he singled out there, who are not the majority of everyone. And it's also said that one of the cries was, Ya ashab Surah al-Baqarah, Ya ashab al-Samurah, Ya ashab Surah al-Baqarah.
Which battle is that?
Hunayn.
Hunayn.
Yes.
يا المهاجرين يا الأنصار يا أصحاب
They say it was specifically Ya lal Ansar. And that's, in a situation like that, you're not like sitting, right? The ones you know are going to come are the ones that you call. And it says a lot. So what we're describing here, again, in a building like this, if somebody pulls the fire alarm, it's not going to be taken lightly. If somebody in a crowded stadium pulls the fire alarm, it's a different thing. If a bomb alarm is set off, that's a different thing as well. What we're describing here basically is that the Prophet ﷺ went and pulled the fire alarm. And Ibn Abbas said that's why they all came. And even if someone couldn't come, he sent a representative to hear what's going on. And the Prophet ﷺ asked, once they had all assembled, the Prophet ﷺ, and it's very meaningful what the Prophet ﷺ said. I mean, translated, it's like he pulled the fire alarm in a crowded building, and then when everybody came, he said, if I told you that I saw a fire, would you believe me? And he said, if I told you that there was a cavalry, there were troops marching on the city behind this mountain, would you believe me? And how did they respond? He said, well, you never lied to us before. And he said what he said, I'm an alarm to you before a serious punishment. It's a huge thing to do. And the Prophet ﷺ, perhaps you can expect to get a response like that from some people, but the Prophet ﷺ had a bigger responsibility to worry about. And the Prophet ﷺ did what he was told in the most direct way possible, we see here. One person in particular had something particular to say about that, and Abu Lahab. Who is Abu Lahab? Yes, the uncle, Abu Lahab ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, may the what means may the rest of your day be wasted. Which he's saying that, what's he saying?
You have wasted our time.
Yes. Is this all you gathered us here for? You got us all to come out just to say that to us? This, what the Prophet ﷺ did here, this event, again, it was a big public event and it was remembered publicly by a lot of different people. It wasn't the first time that they knew about what the Prophet ﷺ had been preaching. It wasn't out of the blue. We know that in a lot of what we've already read, in the fact that the brother of Abu Dhar, he came from outside Mecca, and he had heard the Quran. He had heard the Quran and was able to appreciate that this is not like the things that other people say. And we also see when Abu Dhar went there, we saw that not only had they heard, but they have a name for people, and they have a reaction when somebody is called by that name. Where do we see that in the story of Abu Dhar? When he said, where's the man that you call the Sabit, how do you say it in English?
Safi?
What's the word? A heretic. Where's the man you call the heretic? And the person he asked didn't say, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like he was, I was just asking like where he is, and then the man reacted in a very specific way. He said, everybody, here's a heretic. And they all know what they're talking about, and they all have a very violent reaction to that. We also read about the other man, radiallahu anhu. Who was he? Does anyone remember his name? Amr ibn Abasa. He came, and what did he say? First of all, he had heard about the Prophet ﷺ from outside Mecca.
He wanted to convert.
Yeah, well, he wanted. He said, that his people were ruthless towards him, and that he had to exercise great caution to find a way to meet with him. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said at that time, that's when the Prophet, we talked about over 50 people, and we know there are more than that, who had professed faith, at least publicly. And at the time, the Prophet that Amr ibn Abbas was talking about, where he had already heard about him outside Mecca, he asked him, who's following you? And the Prophet said, a freed man and a slave. 2. Who are those? Abu Bakr and Bilal, radiallahu anhu. And in the Quran, in this very surah, in the beginning of the surah, someone look at it, I think the 4th ayah of the surah. Surah Al-Shu'ara. I think it's the 3rd, the 4th ayah. It's لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ.
After that?
That's it. Well, that's Surah Al-Kahf that you're thinking about. Surah Al-Shu'ara. لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ أَلَّا يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ.
No, you asked me about the ayah that comes after that.
No, that very ayah. I want the translation. No, that's the this ayah is at the end of the surah.
Okay.
Perhaps
What number ayah is that?
3.
The 3rd ayah, the 25th surah, right?
Yes. 26.
26th surah. What is the translation of the ayah?
Perhaps, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you would kill yourself with grief that they will not be believers.
That's in the beginning of this. We don't know this for sure. It's reasonable to assume that the end of the surah comes after the beginning. And that ayah says what it says. Perhaps you will drive yourself to death and grief over them that they won't be faithful. So the issue is not they haven't ever heard. The Prophet ﷺ did what he was told to do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The issue is this is a different kind of publicity than what was before. This is a big public thing. There is another description that we'll read, inshallah. MashaAllah. Brother Tanwir, can you read the next page?
Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the message and warn your immediate community was sent down, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam rose and cried out something like, "Public of Quraysh, ransom yourselves. There is nothing I can do to save you from God. Sons of Abd Manaf, there is nothing I can do to save you from God. Abbas, son of Abdul Muttalib, there is nothing I can do to save you from God. Safiya, my aunt, there is nothing I can do to save you from God. Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, any of my property you ask me for is yours, but there is nothing I can do to save you from God." Bukhari and Muslim.
No. And this, again, the words that here are quoted, Ya Ma'shara Quraysh, that's a word that comes with a public, an announcement that's of public importance. And as the Prophet ﷺ is quoted elsewhere as saying that I'm like a person who saw an army coming towards his people, and he wanted to look out for them, and he was afraid that the army would get there before he could, so he stood up and said, "Wa sabaha," which is that specific alarm cry. And that's what he did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And to say the very least, it's not an easy thing to do. Ibn Ishaq, rahimahullah, after mentioning this, and we've already talked about and we've seen examples of how the few who embraced faith were persecuted. Ibn Ishaq, after talking about the names of some of those people who embraced faith, or professed faith publicly early, he says that after that, the faith started to spread and from house to house, and a few people at a time, until, and he says among men and women, until Quraysh got really upset about that. And he describes a number of events that happened, and you'll see these are paraphrased in a couple of, or actually almost quoted word for word in a couple of chapters in this book. He describes that once the rest of Quraysh started to get worried about this, they started to get really offended and see that more and more, one by one, there are more and more people embracing faith. He said particular noblemen in Quraysh went to Abu Talib to talk with him. First of all, why would they go to Abu Talib? Why is it Abu Talib that they go to? I don't speak your language. answer doesn't, no credit.
He's the chief of Bani Hashim.
What's that?
He's the chief of Bani Hashim.
Yes, he's an important figure, to say the least. I mean, using it like the language that we speak, he's like the authority figure. Like Prophet ﷺ basically, in loose terms, is like a citizen in his country, if you will. A member of his state, if you will. The ones who are, so this, what Ibn Ishaq describes here, is people going to talk to another person. I'm sure there are many times where many of us have gotten together and said, let's go talk to another person. This is not like that. These are specific people going to a specific person. This is a specific thing as well. These are officials going to make an official visit and deliver an official notice to another official. This is a big thing. Ibn Ishaq names the ones who went there. The ones he names, if you have the material that we looked at earlier, and there are some copies here for those who don't have, but not of everything, and still we're looking for more toner in the printer. If you look in Abd Shams here, the ones he mentions are Utbah and Shaybah ibn Rabi'ah. That one is not in those extra copies, unfortunately. The ones he mentions are Utbah and Shaybah ibn Rabi'ah. Did we talk about before that they were leading the army at Badr later on? And Abu Sufyan ibn Harb. If you have Asad, the one he mentions here, his name is Abu al-Bakhtari.
2 pages?
Does it say Asad at the top? It's right here. See where the mark is with the marker? Abu al-Bakhtari. Al-As ibn Hashim. Actually, it should be Al-As ibn Hisham. And we will see these names again and again. Abu al-Bakhtari, we see him here. It's said that he did a particular thing. It's also, we'll see that Abu al-Bakhtari does some other things as well, like stops the boycott. And he's also said that he would even hear that the Prophet ﷺ was in danger, and he would take up arms. And we'll read about him later, but we're seeing what he's reported to have done now. Also here is Al-Aswad ibn al-Muttalib, also from Banu Asad. If you look at Makhzum, find here Amr ibn Hisham. You'll find Amr ibn Hisham. Amr ibn Hisham was written down in history by another name, Abu Jahl. At the time, he's known as Abu al-Hakam, which is the opposite. And he's a judge or an arbiter in Quraysh. So again, it's specific people going. Also here, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, the name that's real big right here. If you look at Sahm, these two brothers right here, Nubay and Munabbih ibn al-Hajjaj. Nubay and Munabbih ibn al-Hajjaj. All of these names will probably force themselves on our attention later on. These two people were very big deal, and in Jahiliyyah they had their own fans, their special entourage.
So who's Banu Abd Shams?
Banu Abd Shams?
Yeah.
From Abd Manaf. That's where Abu Sufyan is from. You mean who are the individuals named?
No. In this breakdown, Zuhra ibn Kilab, that's Abu Manaf, Abd Manaf, and Al-Harith.
That's, you missed that, brother.
Okay.
We spent too much time.
Okay.
We'll go. I don't know if he named anyone from Banu Zuhra. Banu Zuhra is pretty small.
Yeah.
Banu Taym is pretty small as well. He doesn't mention, and even Banu, these are the biggest tribes. Makhzum and Abd Shams. Abd Shams is huge. So is Makhzum. Huge.
Banu Abd Shams is Banu Umayyah.
Banu Umayyah is in.
Banu Abd Shams.
Yeah, if you look in Abd Shams, you can see the left there's Umayyah. I think it says Umayyah senior. That's Banu Umayyah.
Okay.
And are we also in Sahm? Al-As ibn Wa'il. And his offspring, radiallahu anhum, are familiar to us, and he'll come to our attention, inshallah, later on as well. These are the ones that Ibn Hisham listed as having going to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And again, it goes for like going to Abu Talib. And again, it's not just specific people to let out steam. There's specific people with specific position and who represent a specific thing, making an official request. And he said what they said. Oh, Abu Talib, your nephew has cursed our gods, has belittled our religion, insulted our culture, and spoken ill of our fathers. And expressions like this, we'll hear them say expressions like this again and again. That's what they heard. What the Prophet ﷺ said was what was said to him. That's what their ears heard. And some of this, Allahu Alam, it's their own consciences talking. That's not what others hear. One of the things that you read in the Quran, Allahu khayrun amma yushrikun. is Allah better, or the other ones they give a share to? This is kind of like the verdict that they reached, and they're testifying against themselves with their own words. They said, you either have to stop him or give him let us get to him. You either have to stop him or don't come between us. They claim that they have a grievance against him, and if you don't stop him, at least let us there. Because they say, you're just like us. What they say is they're all on the same page. He said, you're just like us, and we'll take care of him for you. He's just like, we'll take care of him for you. He said Abu Talib said something diplomatic to them, and they left. He made this isn't quote what he said, but he made a diplomatic a response, and then he got them to go away. Ibn Ishaq described that the Prophet ﷺ persisted in doing what he was told to do and proclaiming the faith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him with, and calling others, inviting others. And he said that it became a big deal, and people got offended with each other, people got upset with each other, and issues started arising. And the same thing happened again. And those same people again, they went to the Abu Talib again, and they said, you have your position, you have your age, your status among us, and we made a request, we put an official petition, we made a official grievance with you, and you didn't respond to our request, you didn't address our grievance. We can't put up with this. And they again describe the same way they described it before. He's insulting our culture or whatnot. Either they say something, they go a step, and they issue an ultimatum. They say either stop him or we're going to take action. The first step was like two options: either stop him or at least don't stop us. They didn't get what they wanted. They said either stop him or we're going to act. This is again like, public official declaration. It's like a ultimatum of war. Then he says that they made this declaration. They didn't wait for an answer. They left. Abu Talib was put in a dilemma. He didn't want to, get in that situation with his people and split from them. And he didn't want to surrender his nephew, who is Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says that then Abu Talib, apparently the first time Abu Talib just got them to go away. He said Abu Talib actually called the Prophet ﷺ to talk to him, and he said he made a request from the Prophet ﷺ, and he said that this grievance has been brought to me. Your people have came and they've made these particular complaints. I'm asking you, please make things easy for me, and don't put me in a difficult situation. What does that sound like?
Plea?
What's that?
Plea?
Well, it's a plea, but like, what would you expect? It's like he's saying that I can't do it anymore. What's that?
It was succumbing to pressure.
Yes, and that would give the listener the impression that I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. Like I'm going to have to revoke your citizenship, if you will, in very loose terms. They said the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard that, he thought his uncle was going to do that. And there's a very, very, very famous. This is not exactly a hadith, but it's true. Yes.
It's authenticated.
What's that? Well, it's not. But if you want to be technical, it's not exactly. It's not a hadith. It's not the stands of hadith.
وضع الشمس على اليمين والقمر على اليسار.
Yes, they say that the Prophet ﷺ said, if they put the sun in one hand, in one of my hands, and the moon in the other hands, for me to stop this, I can't stop until God makes it victorious, or I perish. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I came here to state something that shouldn't have to be stated. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not, even though the impression that Abu Talib gave is that I'm going to have to give you up, did not say, okay, and make some kind of agreement with him, and then go do it behind his back. The Prophet ﷺ was given his protection, and Abu Talib said, you have to change something, you have to stop this. And please, for my sake, make things easy for me, and don't put me in a difficult situation. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't make a deal with him. He couldn't. He had a bigger responsibility. The Prophet ﷺ said, I can't do that. Even if someone put the sun in one of my hands, as he's quoted, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the moon in another, I can't do that. And they said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's as if he assumed that he understood from what Abu Talib said that it's, my protection is removed. He said he went away in tears, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Abu Talib saw that, they say he called him. What's that?
Abdul Muttalib.
No, Abu Talib is dead. This is Abu Talib.
Abu Talib, his uncle. Abdul Muttalib is the uncle. Abu Talib is the...
Abdul Muttalib is his grandfather. Abdul Muttalib is his grandfather. He's dead now.
Okay, I confused the names, sorry.
Now, the Quraysh names they have like themes in their names. And Talib is even Abdul Muttalib is a very common name. Talib and Tulayb, they repeat a lot. It can be confusing. They said that he called him back and said, my nephew, say whatever you want. I'm not going to give you up. There's one last step, one last move that he describes here that Quraysh makes. He says that same group of people, or similar group of people, they come back one more time after they see that that's happened, and they still try to compromise with him. They said they brought one of the sons of Al-Walid ibn Mughira, whose name was Umara, and you can see him in Makhzum. And they say, okay, here's a son, and it's not just the son of anybody. It's a cream of the crop. The son of, he's not really your son. Either he's like your foster son. Here's another foster son. He's yours. call him your own. He's a big deal, cream of the crop. You can take him from us, and in exchange, let go of your son. Let go of your nephew. That's a really big thing to say the least. Why don't they just do something? Why do they keep going through Abu Talib and instead of just taking action? It's not that easy. Even if they don't have consciences, it's not, even for purely material reasons, Abu Talib is a big deal. He's a big part of their federation, if you will. He has other people who are allied to him and loyal to him. He has weapons and armor and a militia under him. That's going to be, if there's a war, it's not something that they know they're going to come out well in. And plus, Quraysh has a real big thing in particular about not fighting each other. Because they have a particular position among other people. And no matter how much they don't like Abu Talib, that's going to do real harm to them in front of, just like in a similar way, Europe had a big, countries in Europe had a big empire and all these colonies. They fought a couple of world wars, and in this, everything in this world that goes up comes back down. That's why they keep on going. They're not going to do something by themselves. They keep on going to Abu Talib. They made that suggestion to him, and he said, his answer was, "What a horrible proposal you made." Does anyone know why he said?
Why?
Did you know why he refused to accept that?
Because he knows that they're going to try and kill him.
Well, that's what they're saying that literally. That's what they're saying that they're going to do. But they're saying, we'll give you a substitute. This, according to them, it's just as good. He said, so you're going to take my nephew and do what you want to do to him, and you're going to make me take care of your son? No, I'm not going to do that. So he refused to do that. They said that will never happen. And they say that a man named Al-Mut'im ibn Adi, and you can look in Banu Nawfal, here is Mut'im ibn Adi, and again he'll, for better or for worse, he'll come to our attention later on. He said, and he's from close to Abu Talib. We've seen these other people are representatives of all these different branches of Quraysh, and Mut'im ibn Adi is from Abd Manaf itself. He's supposed to be on the political side. If you want to say they're both Democrats or both Republicans or whatever, they're supposed to be on the same side. He said to Abu Talib, they gave you a square deal. Come on, that's not, you're not being reasonable.
This is the stepfather of Sayyidina Uthman.
Nawfal?
Mut'im ibn Adi.
Al-Mut'im, I don't know about stepfatherness, but we'll see him later. And then he said, because they're supposed to be on the same side, he said, oh, it looks like you're going to switch sides. You want to join them and abandon me. Speaking of joining, we'll continue next week. Inshallah, we need to join the Salah, inshallah. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وباركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك